lawyer, you need a registrar, maybe a notary, tons of intermediaries, tons of paper. Seems really inefficient. And to me, that's sort of how I learned about DAOs. Like that's what led me there, to sort of find this amazing value prop of spinning up a company from a command line, right, without needing anyone else. And that was something that really kind of spoke to me. And I started looking at the DAO like tooling space on Ethereum, how that was working there. And there was some great innovation, but at the same time, there have been things that I kind of thought that could work better, and that kind of led me to start thinking about different layer ones. And that also coincided with me getting my sort of friend and partner on board, who's coming from the world of finance. Sort of, we kind of put this idea together of like a simplified DAO generator, which we thought could work. And we really felt like, the Ethereum gas price and general like complexity of the UI of the solutions there was prohibitive to just having a lot more DAOs, because like on Ethereum they were quite large communities, expensive to run. And so for us, that was sort of the main reason we started looking at different layer ones out there. And Solana kind of seemed, the most genuine, the most honest, it had less of a corporate feel, more of a kind of, I don't know, it felt true. And so we started looking at how it was developing, and not much later the May Solana season hackathon rolled around, where we sort of just joined the Discord, started talking to different people, and that's where we met our sort of third co-founder, Sean, who's a full stack developer, 20 years of experience, who graciously agreed to spend a week brainstorming with us about sort of what we wanted to build. And he kind of liked the idea, so we spent essentially May and the whole of summer just building it out, figuring out all the like complexities of building on Solana. For us, that was a great journey. And over the summer, we had a couple of contributors. Some of them are now with us full time, which is also great. And generally, the Solana ecosystem has been super welcoming and always offering support. And finally, around August, we kind of realized that we're ready to go at this full time and focus, on really bringing the most robust and user-friendly DAO tooling to Solana. And we're about to get to sort of our beta, which is going to be public, which is going to be out, and we can talk about this later and announcements.
Definitely,
but I guess
definitely. But before we go into details, I'm pretty sure that there are some soldiers here that have forgotten their weapons. They haven't done their homework. So if you could give a quick TLDR of what Squads is, because you guys are stealth cobras. You're out there ready to get a huge market share. Nobody knows, but the Grape community knows. But yeah, a quick TLDR for those that did not come prepared.
Yeah, sounds good. So Squads is a DAO generator we're building on Solana. It combines all of the DAO primitives in one place, which include a DAO deployment framework, so essentially something that would allow you to spin up a DAO, a voting section to initiate proposals and to have the on-chain voting, and the vault, which is the joint treasury where you can deposit and withdraw assets. And a bit down the line, it will have a chat capability where you can, communicate with your fellow DAO members. And that's sort of the core primitives there. And we do expect to kind of build out more complexity around it down the line. But right now, it's just this sort of simple, tool for DAO deployment and management, which is a, completely no-code solution. It's just, you don't need to be a developer, don't need to be, even a lawyer. Just go through a couple of clicks, create your own DAO. It could be for your community of 1,000 members. It could be for you and 4 of your friends, and you just want to, co-invest on Solana, or you want to, you're joining a hackathon. You don't want to incorporate a company for signing agreements with your fellow team members. You can spin up a DAO and have that. And generally, as far as your imagination can take you, that's what the DAO framework I think can support.
So you're like a more advanced Aragon in Solana. Are you also like, because what you're describing exists fragmented maybe on Ethereum?
Yeah, so the way it works on Ethereum, so there's a couple of ways you can start a DAO on Ethereum, right? So one is a fragmented solution, right? So you mint your own token, you set up like Snapshot to do the governance and voting. You have a multisig with Gnosis Safe, which is like your joint treasury, and they have a Discord or a forum, right, to have the discussions. That's like a sort of spread out version. Or there's Aragon, which allows you to actually a DAO, kind of similar to what I just described, but in the sense that like it also has the DAO deployment and the voting sort of one place, so they're linked. And the Aragon DAOs that you create, they are essentially private DAOs, right? So that they actually don't. Once you create a DAO there, you don't airdrop the DAO governance token to any wallet. The governance token stays locked in the smart contract on Ethereum that kind of keeps track like this public key should have X amount of governance tokens, that public key should have Y amount of governance tokens. So those are like the two types that you can do it on in Ethereum. And Aragon, they were essentially like first movers generally, I think, on the market in terms of like doing it on any layer one. And they've done some great work, but their sort of tooling again is we always felt like for more advanced users. Like half of their product line is dev tooling for developers, the other one is sort of user-facing, consumer-facing, but it's very hard to figure out, and you need to read the doc section for a while. And so our approach was to kind of take all of the DAO primitives that are kind of, some of them are part of the Aragon stack, some of them are not, put them in one sort of simplified interface, and make this really, take DAOs mainstream, make it so accessible that anyone can start one. So that was and still remains, the vision.
Yeah, talking about Aragon, I mean, I was in the ICO of Aragon. I remember I was so excited about all these features they had. If I'm not mistaken, the whole thing broke with the Constantinople fork in Ethereum, where some of their smart contracts just stopped working, so they had to go to Cosmos. Crazy things are happening. So I totally understand why like Solana makes much more sense, where minting is easy and smart contracts are of a different nature.
Totally, and at the same time, it's obvious, everyone knows it, but like particularly for DAOs, like the gas price is, DAOs are at the end of the day are organizations which you like. Sometimes you need to have some kind of financial planning, how much it will cost to run them, to deploy them, to do votes. And with Ethereum, it's just not possible to plan that effectively. Like sometimes the gas price can be so high that you can't really do anything. Sometimes it's just too expensive. So that also is a huge deterrent for DAOs just being like group chats with bank accounts. And it prohibits many users of having 5 or 6 DAOs, some for friends, some for communities. It's just it's right now it's this big complicated thing, which is also expensive. And so our idea coming to Solana was make this cheap, make this accessible, make this really user-friendly, because it actually can be. So that's
it makes sense. Non-financial transactions can't really have huge fees. It's a huge stop for the onboarding process. Like nobody can afford to spend so much money in voting and deciding. Makes sense. Solana makes sense. But
exactly.
Do you think that DAOs should be also like should only cater to crypto savvy people? Should DAOs be like connected to crypto? Are you focusing on since you're going for a no code, just through some simple user interface, making choices? Are you actually targeting some non-crypto people? What's the plan on this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, that's something that we discussed earlier on, and sort of my vision generally is that if I think the way to think about this, right, is like if you believe that sort of crypto will take over, right, at least take over our payments, right, and the way we sort of exchange different sort of financial value, right, then the next logical step is that like DAOs should come in and replace the traditional corporate structures, right, and act as that's like the first step, right, to just replace the structures, be this amazing bottom-up structures that like don't have any maybe sometimes even leadership, right, and just sort of exist there and generate value for their members. So I think from that point, every essentially company, like every use case for a corporation will at some point be replaced by a DAO. So in that respect, we definitely are betting on like this framework just taking over, because it's cheaper, it's easier, it's global, right, there are no limitations, no KYC, jurisdictional problems there. So I think in that respect, we're definitely betting on that. And the reason we're also simplifying the UI, making it no code, is to allow for more, non-crypto natives to find themselves, find the DAO framework And I think that also plays really well into general Solana narrative. Like, Ethereum for many reasons has been prohibited to like people who want to get into crypto, but Solana is, to this day sees many people that are coming on Solana to build something or be a user here who have never tried any other first time crypto experience, because Solana is welcoming, the rent and generally like the fees are low. So I think in that respect, it's definitely plays well into the narrative we want to build squad. And so like the newcomers that are coming to Solana, they can also use squads to kind of explore the ecosystem through like a group interface, right? You can set up a squad with some friends who are more familiar with with perpetuals or some other DeFi elements. They can guide you through it. You pull resources together, you can buy NFTs together, and hold them on this joint wallet. So there's definitely, I think, to this aspect, it's super helpful to have a framework like Squads, because it can allow for non-crypto natives to become a lot more familiar with crypto and just realize that it can actually all be really useful.
Can you give me some examples of powerful DAOs? Maybe the ones you consider at least important in the crypto space.
Yeah, I mean that's the interesting part, right? So I mean, in terms of even Solana already has some interesting DAOs that are doing cool things. Like Monkey DAO is probably the first one, the more established one, right? So they are actively encouraging participation. It's a full on DAO, which initially I thought I was really curious to see how they develop it, and I think it's sheer dedication of the core members that are just constantly organizing the community around the well in this case, right, the NFTs they love, and now it kind of goes completely beyond that. So I think even like Solana already sees some strong DAOs coming up. I know the Grape has its own DAOs. I think we're gonna hear more about, but like that's also one of the good examples of Solana DAOs that are completely aping into this whole governance thing, which is I think great to see. And talking about like more layer use case DAOs, I mean, there's like the traditional split would be, right, the protocol DAOs, right, the DAOs that govern protocols that exist on like Ethereum, Uniswap, SushiSwap, those are strong ones. There's a compound DAO, which is like the more interesting one because it has completely sort of found a way to essentially decentralize, to not decentralize, but automate to an extent which no other DAO has done, right? Because like on Compound, when the proposal is created, the code that will actually change the protocol is built into the proposal, and when it's passed, there's no intermediaries actually implementing it, right? The code just gets deployed, and the protocol changes with the proposal. That actually led to a bug a few weeks ago, a lot of value being lost, but sometimes those things happen. But at the same time,
growing pains. It only makes sense.
Sorry.
It's growing pains. It makes sense once you are implementing those systems that they have no checks and no intermediaries. It makes sense. Sometimes mistakes are going to happen. It's all trial and error. We're still early.
Exactly, and I think so. Yeah, I mean that's like an example of.
But any DAOs that are outside crypto that would be interesting? I personally don't know any, but maybe you know.
Outside crypto? Well, I mean that's a good question, right? So DAOs outside of crypto would be sort of communities, sort of large communities which have shared sort of common goals. I mean, some non-profits, you could say, have the same sort of feel as to DAOs, right? Or some just social communities which haven't sort of organized yet. But I guess so far DAOs will remain a crypto native framework, and I'm not sure how many DAOs exist outside of crypto, right?
Yeah, man, it's something the future might change. Like it has to be different in the future.
Yeah, totally.
As long as the tools become available, it only makes sense to get people to organize in that way. I have questions regarding the legal aspects of these things and some other bottlenecks that happen, but we'll go there later. I want to focus a little bit more on squads and the product. And how are you, like, I assume you're going to start onboarding communities and you're going to give the option to people to start their own communities. What size are you targeting? Are you targeting over 1,000 people? Is the optimal group size under like 100 people? What does work the best for squads?
Okay, well, I think to answer the question, I do sort of announcement in terms of what in what form and when, because it helped me to sort of elaborate how we will be actually onboarding people. So the way it will work on November 9th, we're going to get two versions of squads out. One is going to go to mainnet, the other one is going to go to devnet. And the reason for it is initially they will cater to sort of different use cases, and it will allow us to kind of onboard more communities and bring more value to communities on Solana. So the version that goes to mainnet will target the communities that are already established, right? So if you already have your token issue, if you had an NFT drop and you want to organize a DAO around it, what you will be able to do is essentially register your token or your NFT with squads, and that will allow your token holders to connect their and see that they are in, Monkey DAO squad, for instance, and that will allow them to interact with the proposals, right? So it will be just the voting functionality, but those members will be able to initiate proposals or vote on the existing ones, and that will happen, fully decentralized, fully on chain. So that's sort of our first onboarding idea, is that like we're going to roll out this governance client for NFT communities and established tokenized communities that exist on Solana, because this is one of the missing Lego pieces in the DAO stack, right? Communities have Grape to have their sort of gated Discord server, which is essential. They probably already issued a token, right? So, but there's a way for them to actually do on-chain proposals and on-chain voting. So that's sort of what Squads is going to do in its first outing. So that's the first part. And the second part that goes to DevNet is the full-on, Squads version 1 functionality, which has, the DAO primitives I just described, so the voting, the deployment, the vault, which is the joint treasury, and this will be focused on private DAOs, right, on private squads. So if you want to create a DAO that doesn't have a liquid token that's, airdrop to members, but it's held in the program dedicated, the squad that you have deployed, you'd be able to do it on DevNet also on November 9th. And the way it will work, it can actually, in terms of size, it can cater to, well, obviously smaller groups, right? Of sort of essentially personal DAOs, right? For groups of friends or associates. But we will also be able to have private squads, much larger communities. So right now, I think it could be up to about 5,000, but it's more about, if the community wants to pay the Solana rent up front for, for the essentially the fee to deploy such a, such a big DAO, they will be able to. So that's the two versions that we're going to release first. And once sort of Squads version 1 gets to mainnet, they will essentially merge with the one that will already be there by that time, and it will kind of, as a user, you'd be able to, I'm in the private squad, and in the same list you'll see that this was, and you're an NFT or a tokenized community squad that allows you to. They will have different functionality still, but that will be sort of merged down the line once Squads version 1 goes to.
Awesome. But let me describe the flow of a proposal. So you correct me if I haven't understood something right. So let's assume we are a group of friends and we pull together a small amount. Let's say everybody puts $100. We're 10 people. We have $1,000 treasury, and we want to use squads in order to start making a fund and co-investing and decision making on. And risk management, for example. Squads will provide a what's it called? A treasury. A multi-sig treasury for us to actually deploy those funds. So we have a treasury with $1,000. Then someone needs to propose an investment strategy. How does one do that? Can anybody from the group do that? Is there any token that he needs to use, or does
Sure.
it
So
cost
the
him
way
anything?
okay, so that's a great example you described. So I think take a step back and just take you through the process how that will. For instance, you want to set up, a small squad for 10 people to do co-investment, right? So you go to squads, you connect your wallet, you click create, right? That takes you to a flow where you pick, the name of your squad, a description, a profile picture. You pick the support and quorum rules, right? So how, what percentage of governance tokens will be needed to vote yes for a vote to pass, and the quorum, percentage of have to participate. What percentage of the DAO members will have to participate in the vote for it to be actually valid? Then you will pick the initial token amount, which will be spread out between your initial members. And just bear in mind, right, that token is going to be in the program dedicated to your squad, so you don't get it airdropped into your wallet, right? So it's a private squad for your sort of investment group. And
And everybody has one token. Everybody has 10 tokens. What's the point of choosing that?
You can
How does one make that choice? What are the criteria one needs to consider?
Sure. So the way it works, right? So there are two types of private squads. One, member, where you pick, when you invite someone, you pick how much governance tokens and voting, or it's equal shares, like everyone's equal. So everyone's equal, I guess that's easy, but where allocation by members, so the considerations there should be, right? So if you have a group of 10, and you kind of understand that, 3 of you are sort of the decision makers, and the other one are like sleeping investors that don't actually, participate in the way that deployed. They just providing the funds, right? And so the way that can work is essentially you can give, to the 3 members sort of the majority of the governance tokens, allow sort of control where the funds go, while spreading out, the rest amount the other 7 members, so cannot actually affect anything that happens there, to sort of monitor what happens there, see to the treasury. And that is kind of modulated by the support level that you set, right? So if support for a vote is 50%, and the 3 members have 50%, and the other ones, right? Oh, sorry, the 3 members 40, nothing happens without the 3 members joining forces, or at least one of them, right, joining and voting. So it's just more about figuring out dynamics, right, and who should be the decision maker, and then you sort of allocate percentages. So I think in percentages.
May I stop you one moment? You are having some short breaks in your voice. It's like you are your push to talk stops being pushed, and so you're breaking up. I don't know. I can't propose any fix, but just keep in mind that you have those short breaks.
Has it started just now, or has it been the?
It started every now and then, and starts to getting more and more and more. So just keep in mind.
Let me fix it for a second. Sure. Yeah, that should be. Yeah, it should be better now. Sorry.
Perfect.
I mean, the point is that it's sort of controlled by support and quorum mechanics that you set up.
Is there parenthesis again? Sorry to disturb you, but is there a way to have like important decisions where we need a super majority and less important decisions where is it based on the proposal? Can you set this kind of level of proposal acceptance on on that level, or it goes on the squad level, those rules?
All of it goes on the squad level, but that's one of the sort of, or that's one of the one of the first updates that is going to come is different support and quorum requirements for different types of proposals. Like the ones we have now are vault and text proposals, and the fourth type is proposal to change the rules of a squad, like change the support and quorum itself. So down the line, we're not sure exactly when for that, but you'd be able to set different requirements for each of them. But for the beta that's coming, just on a squad level, you pick it in the beginning, and that applies to all types of.
Awesome, awesome. And does it cost anything to the user to make a proposal?
Well, I mean, it does, but it's very so it's something below 0.1.
Yeah, okay. It's a Solana transaction, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, for us, in terms of squads fees for the beta, there aren't any. So it's just the Solana fees that users need to pay, and sort of our fee structures. We're still figuring them out and be there for the beta, right? So this is
But
more about.
there is no like requirement. Okay, I'm going to spend three of my governance tokens in order to like burn that, or there is no like
No.
those tokens don't leave the user's wallet, even if that wallet is baked into the protocol and they can't be actually withdrawn. This is just voting power.
Correct. Yeah, this is just pure voting power, and once it's set, that it's set there. So, or you don't lose any voting power with every vote, right? So that if that has been allocated from that's the way it works, and kind of like similar to when you set up a company, you get a certain number of shares. The meeting, with every shareholder meeting, decrease, right? So So I think in that logic, it kind of stays there. But what you're describing, down the line, when more sort of visibility to the app, I imagine, things like this, you could potentially work in to this, squads mechanics. So maybe down the line.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And so you, in the end, let's say the proposal is accepted and it's passed, and then the action needs to be taken. Of course, okay. Let's say we want to invest in that. We want to buy Bitcoin and put it in our vault. This is something they need to execute outside squads. Like this squads stops there on the decision making part.
Well, I mean, it kind of depends how you want to. So you need to. So first, you initiate a proposal to buy Bitcoin, for instance, right? That's the way you want to do it, right? But at the same time, if you initiate proposal from the treasury and pick, essentially to choose to withdraw the funds to someone's wallet who will actually purchase the Bitcoin, right? You can also put all of those descriptions that you want to buy, this amount of USDC to that address, and once the vote on that, and that automatically, right? And so once the vote on that is passed, there is no execution from the DAO, right? It goes out automatically, right? So it kind of depends how you want to structure. Start the text proposal and then interact with the vote. But any interaction with the vote, any withdrawal from it triggers a vote anyway, which you can also put a description in, and that can be and after that again, execution is automatic. You don't do anything.
That's really awesome. That actually every proposal actually is triggers something to do with a move from the treasury. So it has to be a financial decision always. That's interesting.
So I mean, you can also there's a separate flow for text proposals, right? Like on Snapshot, on want a community proposal on something, just any sort of decision that doesn't require automated trigger of any financial, right? That can be just set out there in text. You can make some links and make the decision that way, and that will just once it's passed, you just know the results, more like a poll, right? And that doesn't trigger automatically after that. And the other one is in a private squad, when you click to add a member, for you can insert the public key of someone you want to add, and that triggers a vote as well. Squad votes to add that person, right? The public key just gets added, and the point there is that everyone gets diluted in a way, so that's why sort of squad should consider it in advance and sort of make sure that they've done the calculations right. We will also try and help out in the onboarding to explain as much as possible on how that works. But to be honest, we definitely expect a lot of testers to kind of reach out to us with any questions that they have, sort of be available for every single part of it to explain.
How does this proposal form flow change if a community already has a token that is already in their wallets, it's not inside squads? Like
Sure.
this, it must be very different. How would it work?
Well, I mean, the proposal flow, the whole thing just becomes a little more simple. Right? So the way it works, if if you're a core member of a DAO, or if you're like a member of the protocol that has, you can come to us. We'll direct you to the setup that will allow you to register your token or your NFT mint address with us, and then your token holders, all they need to community members connect their wallets to squads, and they will see automatically that they're already members in a particular DAO in that squad, and they drop into it, and all they can interact with is just the proposal flow, which is just text proposals like snapshots. So essentially, they will see the proposals that already have been deployed. They can initiate a new one. I mean, for that snapshot of Ethereum, essentially that will because the treasury, we're not sure how that's going to work in yet.
So there's not going to be any weighted voting if you have an outside token, or the squad is going to match you with deploy a token within the protocol that will copy the number you have in your wallet of the community token you are emulating in a way. Is there any weighted voting if it's outside squads the coin?
Well, I mean, weighted voting. So like if it's a token, right? So I can have 100. By virtue of that, you'll have your vote. Your vote will carry more weight than mine, right? So in that respect, it is weighted. But like if it's an NFT, for instance, right? Initially, it's just going to be one member, one vote, right? So everyone's equal. And then there's also like a concept of core members, essentially, which they don't actually have any weighted voting, but if they voted on a proposal top, so like the community is the important one because the core members are pushing it and are voting on it. And down the line, what can be like, it kind of depends on the use case, right? So for NFT, the way it can work is, for instance, for Monkey DAO, as we are like in conversation, one vote, right? That's another way that could, and then you can go into crazy mechanics of rarity. But and if it's just a token, I don't imagine the weighted votes how they will work in a token. That kind of is the weight that you need to sway the vote as essentially the majority holder. And what you were saying, about actually our tokens mirroring an existing community, you can do it, right? So the point is that like on mainnet, what goes live is sort of a simpler version because we don't need to transfer this 1,000-member NFT into a squad where there's like a mirroring governance token that already also is minted for them. It's more about because for NFT communities, your NFT should be essentially the ticket to a DAO, right? You shouldn't have extra tokens. The NFT or like an NFT DAO. So I think that's where our thinking was. But if a community of 1,000 to have different like reshuffling of those votes, they can create a private squad, go into this whole 1,000-member squad which can interact with votes and kind of reshuffle the votes if they pick allocation by members squad. So that's also doable. It's just more complex to sort of transition that many members into something like that. Although we kind of found a way to do it as well, and this is something where we'd be I mean this is also really doable, and the that for sure. And this is something that will be a lot easier to do if we sort of connect with Grape, and obviously someone is already in a Grape server, that becomes a ton easier to transition such a DAO. Same for public DAOs as well. To register interacting with Grape will be the sort of best way for us and for the community. That's there.
When we're talking about really large communities, it's very hard to reach consensus, and lots of people are inactive and then active again, and this creates an issue when it comes to decision making. Lots of communities would want to have delegated voting. Is it something that you were gonna see in the early phases? Is it something you're considering?
Yeah, it's totally in the roadmap. It's again the voting updates that we're going to do. It's not going to be there from complexity from the outset to kind of get everyone familiar and features out. But for sure, yeah, I mean, delegating will definitely there. You know, we'll try to get this, but it's definitely in the roadmap.
By the way, the stream is breaking a lot. Your mic is breaking. Yes, your mic is breaking a lot. Have you want to try doing maybe voice activation?
Let me just reconnect quickly.
Are you doing it through a smartphone?
No, I'm doing.
I can't hear you.
Is it better now?
Ah, yeah, it's perfectly fine until it's just silence for half a second.
Yeah, but I just fixed the connection, so I think it should work better now.
Yeah,
but
so far it's great. It's great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so
yeah, we were at delegated voting.
Yeah, delegated votes also will be there. Again, for the sake of simplicity at the outset, we do want to keep this a bit simpler for everyone to get familiar, but this is in the first batch of updates that should be there for sure.
I might be repeating some questions because I need to understand everything. Otherwise, how would I expect everybody else to understand? There's no version of squads where the token leaves the platform. So there is no way to send tokens from squads, not the treasury, but voting power.
Yeah, that's again, this is the third way essentially, right? The third way to get to a DAO is something that we also want to allow for, but not in the beginning, right? But the idea that in the flow of creation of squad, in maybe the next version, right, what you'd be able to do is create a public squad, right? So you'd be able to create a mint and pick public keys, which the governance tokens will be airdropped to, right, from the moment you deploy it. And essentially that will kind of be the third sort of the third way to create a DAO, which we're going to edit, right? And so you'll essentially be able to do a mint through us, like use us as a minter and just deploy and airdrop those tokens to whoever you want to airdrop it to. And that becomes, a public squad, which can interact with our interface as well, just like the public squads will be able to, on November 9th. And it will, by that time, obviously have the sort of treasury capabilities, and this kind of squad will be again pull resources together, and then the tokens will be just in their wallets. They can easily transfer them, and that way the tokens will leave. And we're also talking about for the private squads that want their tokens to be released and actually be airdropped after they've started private. This is something that we're also discussing. It's doable for sure. It's just a matter of how we prioritize, what we prioritize in the roadmap over what. So all of those ideas for the squad creation are in our roadmap. It's just a matter of getting there.
Awesome things. But can't these, like, in a way, you're minting a coin for a community? Can't this have legal repercussions? I mean, in general, will DAOs have some kind of legal framework to accompany them? How will they be able, the members and the leaders, to assess the reach and what they can do, what they cannot do, and how can you secure yourselves from actually being accused of issuing some kind of security or tying it with some profitability? So there are two issues: one on the actual DAO side, and one on your side, that you are empowering those DAOs. Are there any any safe switches over there? Anything to keep you from getting in trouble?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of exactly the reason. Right now, you can have two types of squads. That's the reason right now you can't actually do a mint through us, because we didn't want to become like the de facto essentially IDO platform, right, for communities to mint tokens and airdrop them to members, for exactly those reasons, right? Because it's still like legally it's not really clear how those are going to be treated. I think the private squad architecture is more secure from a legal standpoint, because you don't actually, the members don't actually hold any governance tokens in their wallets. So that's just like the program just keeps track of that. So from that perspective, at least, right, the private squads are a bit more, they're in a better place, because like the tokens don't actually exist in their wallets; they exist in the program. And for the communities that have already issued tokens, right, and are interacting with our interface, again, we didn't participate in the issue of those tokens. We're just there to facilitate the voting. So on that front, at least right now, right, it's we are fairly comfortable that this is just tooling for already sort of for essentially more secure use cases from a legal perspective. But once we get to a place where we do actually want to allow to create a mint through us, it becomes more interesting. And we do have legal advisors already who are kind of advising us on a number of things, and that's sort of one of them. And the other one is also the treasury as well, because like, are we custodial, are we not custodial? That's another question, right? Like if they're doing it through a squad. So it's a matter of I think more legal precedent. It also kind of depends on the jurisdiction, right? Like in the US, we just need to, we need more time, right, to see how the courts react, and what, because I think for DAOs, there are a couple of already not a court decision, but I think there was like some kind of explanatory ruling or something where they do touch upon like DAOs and DAO governance tokens, and there is a chance that from like in the legal field they will be treated differently, right? I think the biggest battle for sort of DAOs is to make sure that the governance tokens are not treated as securities, right? They should be treated as something else. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I have no answers to actually.
Yeah, no, nobody has an
how
answer.
this
It's a
will
gray
work.
area.
Yeah,
It's something that's
yeah.
under construction. But you are a legal expert, so where do you see this going? Do you think that DAOs are going to become some kind of legal entity in the future? Will resemble one, at least in the eyes of the law? What's your take?
Yeah, I think my answer to this is always kind of the same whenever I get asked about regulation. Is I think right now my stance is that the only place where regulation can be meaningful, right, and it can really come in, is in crypto on ramps and off ramps, right? So if you want to interact with with USD or with any kind of fiat, if you want to essentially get the funds out, that's where the crypto regulation will come in, right? That's where the taxes will come in. But if you're staying completely sort of within the crypto space, and you're not actually interacting with any sort of exchanges, and not getting the the funds or the tokens out somehow, or like exchanging them for fiat, that will still be really hard to regulate, I think, just because like I can create a wallet for every transaction that I make, right? And like this whole idea of registering public keys, and that's never gonna work, right? So I think on that front, it probably will remain the same, but there will definitely be a framework that if you want your DAO to become a legal entity, because for instance, not every payment that you need to make or receive can be done in crypto, right? For like AWS at least, like you need to pay. I don't know why do you want to use it, but for some even technical costs, if you're a startup, for if you're a business down the line, not every customer will be able to pay you in crypto, for instance. So yeah, for that you would potentially be able to. Wyoming has providing this framework for like Wyoming LLC corresponding to your DAO. That I'm sure that will be worked out great by the time. Like the regulators are pretty good at figuring it out. There will be like a tax system for it as well, for sure. But I think if the reason we're all in the space, if our hunch is right, that it all kind of transitions to Web3, then you might just not need to have any of that sort of regulatory framework be burdened on you, because at the end of the day, if you sort of exist solely in the crypto space. So that remains to be seen. I'm not a legal expert on that. I did corporate law and mergers and acquisitions for a while. I mean, I'm not a regulatory lawyer, but I think at the end of the day, it's just it remains to be seen. This is an interesting area for sure, and we're kind of keeping our tabs on it and sort of looking into how that can affect us, but also how it can affect the squads that are deployed through the application. And lastly, I guess the most important part of it, like control any of those squads, right? They just used our tooling to create a framework for them, but at the end of the day, they're completely autonomous. So hopefully, in that respect, the app, the squads sort of platform is kind of can maintain deniability because we don't really we don't really control any of these DAOs that are deployed.
Yeah, you're just providing the tools. You're not involved in the decision making. We've thought that in Grape as well.
I actually had a call today with a couple of legal who would probably help us out on some other fronts, like doing terms of service and things. And they came up with a great joke. Is like people will be saying, and I think already are saying, like, it's not me, it's the DAO, or like the DAO did it. That essentially, the liability will be kind of transferred to the group, and everyone will say, it's the DAO decided. I had no idea. So it's interesting to see how, like, even from a social aspect as well, it will be affected. So
Yeah, let's see if it's gonna stand in court.
Yeah.
Yeah, the DAO told me to do it. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
And let's go back again to Squad, specifically to the product. How does
Sure.
the protocol make money? How is it profitable for you? And is this profitability shared in any way with successful DAOs using the tools or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it definitely will be. So right now, Squads architecture and just Squads doesn't make any money for us, right? We don't take any fees. We're not issuing any token at the moment, right? But that's just a matter of time. So our kind of focus initially was to get this really, clean, usable framework out and kind of build on top of it, right? Because what you'll see in the next release and the release after that, it's still the beginning, right? The amount of additional functionality that can be built in to squads to service these DAOs, and considering we do want to be like the governance hub on Solana and provide tons of treasury management components and just a lot of things that will make life for DAOs easier. We understand that first we need to make something really useful and get it out to sort of mainnet for everyone to start getting familiar with, and then we do have plans for tokenomics, we do have plans for fee structures, and they kind of work together. And you're totally right. That's something that we've been discussing, right? So it's not even about like it's how the sort of this will be shared. Like it will definitely be shared with not the squads community in our case, right? With the squads that are deployed for us, right? I think for us it's a more logical step to sort of build the tokenomics around that rather than just individual members. But because the individual members will have their own sort of token relations with their own DAOs, right? So for us, it makes more sense to do it on a sort of group level. And yeah, I mean, my point is that this is definitely coming, but that's not the focus. Like initially, we do want to, because we do plan to stick around for a while and build a lot of additional capabilities out. So it's not for us like one and done. So I guess my point is that it's coming, and we'll probably share it closer to the end of the year, like the full sort of tokenomics and the fee structure that's coming. So I'd stay tuned.
Yeah, looking forward to it for sure, for sure. That's a major alpha there that you dropped. Thank you so much. Have you raised any capital? Have you had any rounds yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing the only thing I can say about I'd stay tuned for that as well. We will announce some things and hopefully do it really soon for everyone to be aware.
Beautiful. It was connected mostly with my when coin question, because lots of projects see like minting a coin is also a way for them to raise funds, which is very important for the success of the project and for the nature of the coin.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think for us, coin, we do want the token to have some real utility within the sort of squads functionality, and it's a matter of first getting the primitives out and then getting this additional functionality in that will allow to build the token and the fees around it. So that was always our vision. And in the early meetings we would always say, like, it's more about like the initial rollout of squads functionality is more like we're building Phantom rather than rather than anything else. Is just making this really useful, really something that looks good, that works well, and kind of services the community first, and then for the additional stuff, for the extra stuff, we will work in the tokenomics and the fees, which are, we're kind of in the last stages of mapping them out, more about like the timing when we release it and so on.
Awesome. Yeah, I see that you're focused on building a good, seamless and easy user experience and no code deployment of DAOs. Like I've been playing around with what you've. Like I've seen your pitch deck on from the Solana summer, Solana season hackathon. So yeah, I'm really looking forward on actually using the product.
Awesome. And we're going to make, some announcements in the coming days for, a bit more detail about what's coming to DevNet, what's coming to mainnet. And just definitely it's going to be an exciting month for us with the release and with, partnership announcements and sort of collaboration announcements that are coming. So
we're starting. You're going to start on onboarding communities on the 9th of November, or it's open for everybody to go explore and create their own or onboard their own, or you're gonna handhold projects to let's get you into squads.
So for DevNet, it's going to be it's going to be a playground basically, right? Everyone can come in, create a squad, or if you want to create a very large squad, you need some hand holding, just because like it's going to be complicated for you to do by yourself. So we're just going to help you out. But yeah, it is going to be a playground on DevNet, right? So to create any kind of squads, or to be honest, of any size. And for the mainnet version, it will be hand holding, right? Because we need to kind of connect with core members of those DAOs or those communities to actually sort of link their tokens there. But we're very approachable, so there's absolutely no restrictions on who that can be, and the tooling will be available to the public also fairly soon after the release. It's just more about us managing, the amount of inflow of users, because we do want to kind of do it on a bit stage by stage basis, basically.
Awesome. Looking forward. I see lots of questions from the audience. Shall we give another couple of minutes to them?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So we have some really good questions coming from Twitch. Are we going to see sub squads for large DAOs like orcapods?
Yeah, right now you can actually, because deploying DAOs on squads is actually so cheap and accessible, right? You can create, you have your big DAO for your community, right? Well, a couple thousand members, and you can create a couple of smaller ones, right? One your treasury management, the other one's, for whatever you want a sub DAO, right? Those sort of different departments within a DAO. You can create like a small squad for each, name it the way you want to name it, and have that. But to create a real sort of a DAO and sub DAO structure, because the only point there is like if you want to link, like automate, right, any of the decisions, it usually involves a treasurer. For like sub DAOs really came about because you'd have a large DAO, you'd have a treasury which is sort of controlled by that DAO, but the real like execution of any transactions is given to a smaller sub DAO of like treasury managers, right, who only they actually can exercise any and do any transactions with the treasury. So for that, we're also going to cater to that, and essentially will allow to link smaller squads to larger ones, right, and give sort of authority or like delegated votes to a squad. And that's a whole other point of like actually squads subsidiaries, right, essentially squads being members in other squads. But this is coming a bit down the line, and we're also talking about it, but that's a more advanced feature that should come in later.
What happens when a DAO member wants to leave? What happens to their tokens? Are they burned, redistributed? And in the same manner, what happens when a new member joins? Can we mint new tokens for them and dilute the rest? Can we transfer someone a part of everybody's tokens to give him power?
Sure. So in a private squad, whenever someone can just, if you're a member in a private squad, which, where the tokens are locked on the program, right? So you can just go into member section and click on quit, and that will burn your tokens, and that's that. If you want to add a member, there will always be, you don't have a choice in that right now, at least, there will always be an additional mint, right? So if you want to add someone, there's a mint, and everyone just gets a little bit diluted to reflect the percentages that you wanted to have, right? So when you invite someone, you pick the percentage you want them to have, and that will affect, the dilution of the rest of the squad.
And if the token does not live inside the squad's protocol, then he just sells his tokens, for example, in the open
Correct.
market, and loses his voting power. Beautiful.
Correct, or you lose your NFT, and so when you sell your token and you connect to squads, you just don't see any squads anymore, because we can't link you to that squad via the mint of the token or the NFT. So if you sell it, you can't access it anymore.
Makes sense. I see Archimedes from the Grape side now. Archimedes is a DAO superstar. He's been researching every single way of making decisions in large communities and discords. So his question, I'm pretty sure, is a little bit more advanced. He's asking, what's your take on snapshot.org versus Mango Markets and their governance model?
Yeah, I mean, Snapshot is kind of, Snapshot is kind of what squad voting allows for, right? So essentially, on-chain voting and proposal initiation. So you don't have this concept of spaces, right, like you have on Snapshot, but it's the same thing as you can just create a separate squad, which is a public squad, and allow you to do those votes. And what Mango did, I think, right now is sort of there to cater to their own protocol, right? And they have a really, they have a great interface, which I think, some, protocols would probably like to use. But I think we kind of checked it out early on, and we're kind of keeping tabs on how Mango does it. I think Snapshot, obviously, they had more time to develop. They have a lot more types of votes, for instance, right? You can do like quadratic holographic voting and stuff. I don't think Mango is quite there yet. So I think, they definitely provide a great solution, first and foremost, for their own community, right? Because they wanted to encourage their participation. It's just, both solutions are great for their own purposes, I guess. And we're kind of going to come into the similar space of facilitating those votes. And, we like this company a lot. So I think sounds good.
Beautiful. And last question from me. Any shout outs to any builders out there, any teams that you've identified that they've been building something that Squads could use, that Squads is competing with, that Squads is admiring? I don't know. Anything. So many builders in Solana at the moment. We might haven't discovered everyone, and your critical eye in this game for sure has some superstars we haven't found.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're obviously keeping tabs on potential collaborations and partnerships and things. So I mean, from the, I'm sure that those are big ones, right? But we're definitely fans of like Solrise. We're definitely fans of Switchboard. I'm sure everyone's familiar with them. And obviously Grape. We've been in touch with you guys from almost day one. So I think for more newcomers, right? I think the main pick I'd have is probably I think Dialect, right? It's this mobile notification solution that essentially download an app and you can link it to different apps on Solana, and they will send you notifications when you interact with them. So I think from even our perspective, it's also critical, which we haven't spoken to them yet. I think we have a call on the books in a couple of days. But I'd love to find this kind of solution to have mobile notifications for a new proposal has been initiated or a proposal is about to expire, and those kind of things will be super useful. And mobile is still not in a great place for Web3 in general. And I think they've joined the hackathon and submitted for Ignition. So let's do. I definitely if I'd have to pick one, I'd probably pick them, and definitely. We already voted for them as a team, but if you haven't heard of them, check it out. Dialect, I think they're.
Yeah, I just shared the link on the live questions. Looks awesome, I have to say. Wow, nice, an alpha they're dropped. Last question from Chris Sek, because it resembles one of my questions that I didn't really go into detail because you addressed with the credit card and non-crypto applications. When the DAO creates something and patents the intellectual property, who is the registered owner?
Well, I mean, the good way to register intellectual property in crypto is to mint it as an NFT, and essentially you'd be the owner of the
Wow, very
blockchain,
smart,
right?
very good answer.
I think that's the best way to do it, right? If you are actually concerned about real sort of IP laws and how they work into it, I guess my answer would probably be to mirror it, right? So if you definitely are concerned about IP rights, mint them as an NFT, but also register them depending on the jurisdiction and all of that. So register them as owned by you or your sort of or find a legal structure for it. I'm not sure exactly for what case you'd need that, but I guess if you are betting on the crypto space and you have a DAO and you're creating some IP, just trust the decentralization, trust the system or of blockchains, bet on that. So I'd rather mint it than do anything else.
Man, you've answered all my questions, even the hardest ones, even the ones that didn't have any answer. So I'm super thankful. If there is anything for you to tell the world, to tell, we have plenty of viewers, over 100 people watching us. The stage is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only first of all, yeah, I mean, thanks, man, for the AMA, and we love we're super grateful for you guys supporting us, and it's been really interesting. I am sorry my connection was breaking up sometimes, but I hope I answered most of the questions, and I do understand, that a lot of the things that everyone is sort of looking for in the DAO framework are still yet to come, even within squads, right? We're still at an early stage, but I can only say that we're gonna get tons of plans and interesting sort of parts of our roadmap that we're going to release, we're going to announce. So I think just bear with us and definitely try out the beta on both mainnet and devnet, and get in touch, join our Discord if you want to ask me any questions, or other team members. We're always here. So my point is, I guess, get in touch. We're around.
Yeah, I am definitely going to be in touch, and I'm definitely going to be sending you plenty of small investment groups, syndicates, and other kind of teams that will definitely utilize squads and will solve so many problems that they have in terms of decision making. Really looking forward on all the features, and also using it for some great things.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for everybody listening. It's been fun.
Thank you, guys. Thank you once again. You make us feel very special.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
Good night, all. Let's close the stage. Goodbye. I've taken a screenshot, a random NFT. I'll announce most probably it's going to be another Solana. Big thank you to the Solana team for sponsoring those amazing giveaways. I'll share all the details, and of course I'll share the winner and DM him. Again, guys, thank you. Good night, everybody. Closing the stage. And here we are, Intimate. So, good product. I love the fact I really like projects, and I have to say, like, I tried and Grape tried, because I can only speak about our efforts to have a product before trying to go for coins, fundraising, communities, blah 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 blah. We wanted a working product. And I appreciate that Squads is trying to do the same. And they are already trying. It's like, okay, guys, we're going to have something that is working. We're going to see how the community interacts with it. We're going to see the needs of those organizations. We're going to cater them. We're going to fix the tools. And then we're going to start monetizing it. I'm pretty bullish. I'm very thankful for your engagement. Endowed, man. Great questions. Thank you so much for engaging. I invite you to join the Grape community if you're interested. We have 5 sub DAOs under the main DAO, so it's a fun place to be. Thank you all for interacting. Really, you make me feel special, and the idea here is to make our guests feel special. We've been in close connection here. I will give you some secret sauce. We've been in close communication with squads, and we hope to help them on the community onboarding, because Grape has already over 100 partners, which means we are in over 100 discords catering to over 100 communities. What squads is missing is that link of how are we going to seamlessly onboard people on the platform, instead of asking every single one of them to go and create accounts and create mint addresses and add them and all these things. How can you do that? You do it with Grape. So we've been in close contact even on the beta phase to have some kind of partnership. On that note, guys, it was a much longer AMA than I thought. I had many questions I wanted to understand. I really wanted to understand. And am I partnering with Vitalik Buterin? Is it because of, Vitalik Buterin last week was in Greece for the F2 summit in Cape Sunio? Maybe I am Vitalik's lost twin brother. Hey, guys, I'm gonna let you go. It's over an hour. Like, what AMA lasts over an hour? Crazy. I should wear like a unicorn flying neon cat and all these things. Yeah, man. Thank God I'm a little bit more handsome than Vitalik. I don't have the big brains, I don't have the deep pockets, but at least I don't have the looks either. Just joking around. On that note, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Remember, we have a massive alpha dropping stream on Sunday. Of course, this is Whale's Tales. We haven't had Whale's Tales for 2 stream days in a row. But on Saturday the 13th, the 23rd, Saturday the 23rd, we have an AMA with Francium. Nobody has ever spoken to Francium. We are the first ones speaking to Francium. Let's ask them questions about leveraged farming, lending, DeFi. That's my bread and butter. These are I love these AMAs with DeFi projects. Super looking forward. Let's grill them. Let's find out if there's going to be a Francium token. And I think there is going to be a Francium token. So drop your questions on the Francium AMA questions. There are questions here. I will populate it as well. And help me extract the alpha. We need to do it. We need to find out if there is a coin. I have someone waiting for me under my house, guys. I'm gonna let you go. I love you all. I'm super thankful. And take care of yourselves. Enjoy the bull run. Do your risk management. So if you wake up tomorrow and the market is 30% down, you're still happy. So take care. And wow, Ori's at, my God. Is it at $7.38? That's insane. I'm gonna go check it out. I did not manage to mint a tungsten cube also. Meh. Good night, guys. I love you all.